Okay, so my topic is video games, of course. Um, First, why should you play video games, or why do people play video games? Because games equal fun, you know. But like everyone plays games, with your family, whether that be board games, playing I Spy, looking out the window. Um, it's just a fun time overall. But on a serious note, they look cool. This is Animal Well. This is a puzzle game made by Big Mode, I think is what it's called. But it's just a puzzle game that you go through. It's pixelated. It's beautiful. This is Spider-Man 2, and that's just. I mean, look at it. You see it, and you can fly through the city. It's cool. This is Ghost of Tsushima. This is probably one of my personal favorite games. Samurai game. I guess why I like it because it's samurai. And now, people can also relate to characters. First, you have Link, who is brave. He First, he loses everything. He is brave, compassionate, and determined. Kratos, who is trying to be a good father and not be angry all the time. And Mario, who is a romantic with Peach, has a sense of justice, and always is blasting some shrooms. It feels rewarding to do games. As in Minecraft, you get either achievements or you get quests, and you go through them and go through the games to feel that reward that you may not feel in your day-to-day life. You can also build relationships with friends, like in Fortnite. I've played Fortnite with lots of people in here. Repo, which is a game that we recently played, it's just a random multiplayer game, horror game, and it's just a fun time. Um, this game is. You can also play games like in person, with your family. This is a game that I've played with my brother. It's like a story-driven indie RPG where every decision you make will affect what happens at the end of the game, where you either befriend the monsters or you kill them to become more powerful. And it's always fun to, just watch me and my brother, or watch my brother go through the trials and go through that. Okay, Dr. Stephen Eckhaster. Games can be useful as frameworks for reflection where people can make observations about what motivates them and apply this knowledge to other contexts. So he has four things that why people play games and what they do. So achiever, they like to complete quests and level up. An explorer, discover and collect things. A socializer, which is what I would personally put myself as. It's like interacting or working with others because I'm more like the multiplayer aspect of video games. Or a killer like Owen, who likes competing and cannot play a game without a ranked mode. That isn't like my actual topic, so if you want to talk about that in questions or have any questions about that, I won't really expand more on that. So, okay, are video games art? That's really the main question that I want to answer here. This guy is a film critic. He says video games can never be art. No one in or out of the field has ever been able to cite a game worthy of comparison with the great poets, filmmakers, and novelists. This guy is very stupid. His main arguments is he says you can't call chess or basketball art, then we can't call Pong or Madden art, which is just not what games are anymore. And also I can make an argument that basketball and sports are a form of art. Like, what is art really? My definition of art: a medium that illustrates a thought or feeling in a way that words simply cannot. Of course, a lot of people probably use a more ostensive definition of art where they just point at a thing and say, that is art. But I like to go with this. This is the best I could do. What is the difference between video games and like movies and poems and books? It's the fact that you are in the driver's seat. You are doing the things in the game, driving the character forward, and making the decisions to propel yourself. Okay. Well, a great example of you being in the driver's seat are sandbox games like Minecraft and Terraria. These games, you kind of just build your own world and you can do basically whatever you want in the confines of the game. This guy is a philosopher, Aaron Miskin. The key linking concept is the notion of problem solving, which is central to much video game play and to many standard examples of creativity. So that game is probably one of my favorite games that I mentioned earlier. It's Ghost of Tsushima. As you can see, the visuals in that game are very beautiful, and I personally just rode around you can ride around just like how it looks in that. It's not just like a scene that is like a cutscene in a game. In this game, you can also hit some really cool combos and sword fights. The story is of Jin, the samurai. He is the last samurai, and he's going against all the Mongols that invaded their island, and he kind of has to deal with this personal struggle of how do I protect my samurai honor and do face people face to face and do that and not like go behind them and assassinate them. Jin also, you further know that his father was killed right in front of him, and that is something that he has guilt for because he feels like he could have done something to stop it. This is a critic or a review of Ghost of Tsushima. Says Ghost of Tsushima is a breathtakingly beautiful game. Its shining autumnal forests, misty swamps, and soaring snow-capped mountains are so arresting. I often found myself stopping mid-mission to pause and admire the scenery. Or as my colleague Adam Rosenberg put it, I don't ever want to see another meadow in a video game if it's not as beautiful as Tsushima. Okay, so we had the cool game. Now this is the kind of sad game that. So this game is about the struggles of going through cancer and how you see your child of a 4-year journey go through cancer. So the baby Joel, it has cancer, and it's a drag and click game where you go through and you just walk through different sceneries and different voicemails pop up and different things of from the father's voice, and there's little mini games in it that are it's just a very heart-provoking game. It's not very mechanically um, taxing. It's more emotionally taxing than anything. This is an example of a voicemail. Ignore him. Okay, so that is a voicemail that I assume is taken straight from the voicemail that actually happened during this family's battle of cancer with their son. And yeah, it's just, and then of course, right after that, you go in and you get in in the cart and you start playing a little game that's like dodging like cancer. But this is him on. This is another picture of the game where he's like on a side and you can kind of interact. And there's little voice memos and him like clapping and is like a baby's voice. And then you walk to the next scene and he's in a stretcher and it's like the cancer cells in the back. And then there's this other scene that I want to point out, which is all these books have a little note in them, and it's all about "we love you" to a certain family member or cancer patient that is like has died or is dying, and all of them you can click on all the books, and all of them have a message in it. Okay, so why should we care, and why is this? How are those art? So I say those are a great example of art because it is definitely moves you and it definitely brings something out. Emotions, it's definitely emotional connection. But why do we create art and why is it a Bible thing? But in Matthew 5:14-16, you have Sermon on the Mount, where it is about talking about salt and light, and you should shine your light for God's glory. And our games should shine a light that shows God's glory. And then Genesis 1 is creation, the creation story. All of y'all know that. And God creates things that are good and beautiful, and that means we should also create things that are good and beautiful. And that's how video games should be good and beautiful. And then Colossians 3:23-24, Paul is giving instructions on what Christians should do in their homes. This also shows that we should create good things for God. And video games are also a lot of times a reflection of the world that God has created and are beautiful.
Yes, you got it.
All right. As one who has a tablet, a lot of times I'll get, or not a lot. This happens every now and then. I'll have a parent around here or something, or just somebody in my life like a and they'll say things like, "Okay, my kid's playing, my son's getting, he's really, he's really spending a lot of time on there." I generally agree with the premise of their art. Is it the case of like the more the better as far as time spent? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, a little bit of too much of anything is bad, in my opinion. So I wouldn't say like you should be spending all day, or she should be spending all day on a video game. I think I don't know. You should just know like the limit that the kid should have. Of course, I've done 5 hour, 6 hour playing the game because it's just like you get locked, you just get focused on it. But I don't know if the exact like psychology or like mental effects that how long you should play. I guess by a doctor or a psychologist or something.
Two-part. Second, referencing games are, especially from a Christian perspective, glorifying art, and we want to make wholesome art and art that like it makes you feel something. Not all games are of the same quality when it comes to those types of things. How do you discern? Maybe could you give an example? What is a quality game that's worth?
Yeah.
What kind of characteristics does it have? That's maybe more of an unhealthy contribution.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know I never played this game, but a game that I've played or not played is a bad game. It's Cyberpunk. Like that game that was really glitchy, but that had like or that had just like sex in it and it had different stuff in it that was just not good. And it there's also like Red Dead, but it's also very challenging in my opinion because you have thoughts of like this is a cutscene and that you're not actually doing the action. I feel like that's where you go too far is when you are the one doing the action and like actually hurting the kid or doing the act that is sinful. But the game, I mean, I love Ghost of Tsushima. I think it's a great game that everyone should play, and it has. I mean, it's just cool. I don't know about specific characteristics that are towards Christians. Um, I also like that dragon cancer. It also kind of just makes you think about death, which is I think a good thing and the thing that Christians should go through. So I think games that make you think are good.
Yeah, I appreciate that little scene with that cancer. It makes people think. Nobody probably in here knew that there was a game out there like that.
Yeah.
So if it got a little uncomfortable in here, I'm the one that told Reece about the cancer, and I came up like a friend recommended it to me while I had cancer. So good friends. The story behind that, like it's a couple that it's a man and wife, and their son had cancer, and they're both video game developers. She's a graphic animator, and he's a computer programmer, and they designed this program because so Reece, what's the terminology when you are the character moving in the game?
I'm the character moving the game.
Like what they're different terms in terms of what the perspective is.
Oh, first person,
So there's first person,
third person.
third person.
This one's a first person. You kind of move through the different characters sometimes. Like sometimes you're the dad and sometimes you're the mom, and that's also like it kind of brings you back. And one scene, it's like she's holding the baby, and it's like, I hope you never remember what is going on with you. And it brings you to the books, and then it's sad.
So like, and the only reason I bring that out is because two things. One, well, I got lots of things, but two things about that particular video game that I think like it kind of opened my eyes. Like what Mr. Diaz said, like I play video games. I haven't really been super into it since college, but realizing that as Mr. Diaz said, the video gaming world is a lot deeper than most people give it credit for. And I don't mean deeper in the sense of how much people are into it. I mean deeper in the philosophical sense. Like I like that your project, it didn't, yeah, psychology's cool and everything. What happens to your brain when you're playing video games? That's all really interesting. But I don't think this angle is talked about enough. Because, for instance, any good piece of art, like there's this thing in philosophy of art where art is art in so much as it can be universally recognized and recommended, right? Like if you can just go to someone and say, "Oh, well, I really enjoy it, but you probably won't," it's kind of limited, right? But if you play it or show it or watch it, and the wider the crowd that appreciates it, the more likely we are to say that's a wonderful piece of art, right? And you mentioned in there like video games or like your favorite video game. I think everybody should play it. Like maybe you're not a gamer, but like this is something that I think everybody could get something out of. That's one part of it. And then two, any good piece of art is going to teach you something. It's going to show you some perspective that perhaps I think that was part of your definition, a perspective that perhaps you haven't seen before. And so I really appreciated like that this video game was made by this couple. And they're Christians, by the way. They have a really public testimony in the gaming world that they're Christians and they're trying to make video games that aren't like. In Reese's paper, he said something really funny about Jesus games, about like what a Christian video game should look like. He doesn't remember the paper. But like the idea of Christian video games isn't like you're, Joshua marching around Jericho and you got to control, that's. Or David, like you got to aim the slingshot or whatever. Although, now I'm thinking, anyways, like a Christian game, what are you trying to do? You're trying to, whatever is good, whatever is true, whatever is beautiful. If there's any virtue, if there's any praise, play that game. And here's a family that wants to show people, hey, when you're going through this stuff, you're not alone. Other people have been through this, and other people are with you. And it's just a really beautiful. And so like upon hearing that story about this video game, I couldn't play it. Like a little bit about me. My grandfather gave me a wagon with the post railings, like you saw that little boy in, and I gave that to my son. It's like, heck no, I'm not playing this game. Are you kidding me? It messed up for days, right? Anyhow, like I didn't play it, but I really appreciate the story that this couple makes this game good and beautiful. Ended up winning awards for it. Like, I gotta think like that gives me hope that maybe there's this sector of culture that hey, we still appreciate goodness and truth and beauty. And yeah, I know your parents give you a hard time for playing too many video games, but I don't know, maybe we need to lean into that. When I hear words like beauty and story, one, I think, yeah, I get the argument. Like I get the argument, it's art, right? But also, therefore, Christians should be interested in this kind of thing. Christians should be interested in good stories being told because stories impact people in a way that argument never does. We talked about that in the thing. I'm done rambling. Could I get that real quick? Could you go back to that quote by Aaron something? I didn't. Right there. The key linking concept. So here's my question. In what ways, maybe speak personally to this, so he talks about the value of video games as being something that's more personally beneficial, right? Like he talks about problem solving. And then I like that problem solving is used in the same sentence as creativity. Like usually creativity, we talk about like coloring pages and like crafts and all that stuff. But there's something about like, I don't know, like especially those of y'all that are looking at like engineering type fields where you don't usually think of it in terms of art, but you should think of it in terms of creativity, right? So maybe speak to that a little bit, like how have video games helped you like those types
And problem solving and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally games, just puzzle games. So, Breath of the Wild, you enter the temple and you have to solve a puzzle, or sometimes it's a boss fight. But sometimes you got to be creative with the weapons you use in fights. And I think Breath of the Wild is probably the best example I could give on problem solving and then also being creative at the same time. With Breath of the Wild, Zelda Breath of the Wild, you can like do some random stuff, and there's like speed running techniques and like stuff where you can freeze a tree and then you just hit it a bunch of times and then you hop on the tree and then you just fly across the world. So, I mean, that's just being creative in a sense. Creativity, I like the sandbox games. I think that's, wait, maybe it's not. The sandbox games will help you with that, like the Minecraft Terraria stuff you can just play with. Yeah, I think that's the best answer I can give that.
If you've never played Breath of the Wild, you probably think, why are we hitting trees? So yeah, that's what I'm looking for is like something to the fact that I don't know. I remember always justifying playing video games where it's like I remember one kid told me, "Well, I'm supposed to be playing video games because it helps with hand-eye coordination," and I threw a football at him. Like, okay, then spare me on the hand-eye coordination stuff. But also, there's something too, like it really does engage you in a way that, you know, it's so whatever a movie's doing for you, whatever a book is doing for you, in terms of visuals, in terms of story, seems like video games can do for you if done well. Only now, I really like your point where it's like only now you're in the driver's seat. You're the one making decisions. You're the one that has to play through. You're not just a passive observer like you would be in a movie or a book. Now you're like actively involved. That's a really cool thing. All right, classmates, y'all got anything for Reece? Questions or comments? Oh, go ahead.
Whenever the parents that I mentioned earlier ask me like how you know what should I think? I generally say I don't quite put it in the same category as TV watching. TV watching, you're just sitting there, usually mindlessly unless it's worthwhile content. But yeah, with games like you're thinking, not that he has faster reaction time with his thumbs, though he probably does. It's that he outthinks me. He outthinks a lot of people. You're having to go against, you have to outwit someone playing online, and that's like a lot of effort, a lot of mental effort. That's not the same kind of energy that you watch TV. So I think that's worthwhile there. But also, I just want to say, the last thing I saw an article they did this study with surgeons that play video games have a much higher degree of accuracy in their surgeries.
That's
Bottom
cool.
line is we all just need to play more video games.
That's
What it comes down to. Real quick on that note, and Isaac, so me and my kids are playing through Tears of the Kingdom right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, like talking about how engaging it is, it's one thing, and we've learned, and I'm trying to teach my kids this. Like this, I know y'all don't care about parenting lessons or whatever, but just so you know, like where this is coming through for me, it's like being able to. I like playing when my kids are watching because like we're working together on something. My he's farther along in it than I am. He's put more hours into it, so like he's actually guiding me through a bunch of stuff right now. And I got to tell him like, dude, let me figure it out for myself. Like, stop telling me. Spoiler alert, right? But also, my kids have learned, hey, if they're going to bed in a few minutes, they probably shouldn't be. Like the other day, my daughter got a few minutes of free time. And she's like, can I play Switch? I'm like, yeah, sure, you earned it. And she's like, I think I'm going to play Animal Crossing because it's time to go to bed, and I have a hard time going to sleep after playing. She does. She gets in, like, her heart racing, and she's intense. Like, and it's one of those things that engages you in a way that like other media just doesn't. But then, of course, there's also Animal Crossing where it's just kind of like relax.
I think
I mean, I don't think you'd be physically able to like know how to do it still because I think you need the reps. I think I could show you maybe where it is in the car, but other than that, I don't think you're gonna get much.
I'll say real story here. I play drums. Part of me playing drums is rock band. I play the game rock band. It gave me the coordination. The guitar is pretty useless. I play guitar or whatever. But the drums, when you add the full kit and the pedal, like it gave me the coordination to do one thing with one hand, one hand. And from there, I can learn.
And you mentioned surgery just now, but also like surgery, like medical procedures and stuff, and then also a lot of piloting and military. The military uses tons of virtual reality and video game stuff. Like, I don't know if you're aware of this, but like there are a lot of like whenever there's tactile or like what you're saying, I don't know. Yeah, mechanical stuff that might be a little bit different, but I gotta think like the human body is more complex than an engine, so maybe there's something to that video games can be used for.
I mean, it could definitely be used for learning, like just random knowledge, but I don't know if it will give you like the actual skill to do it.
Yeah, like years ago, military got super invested in video game technology just because it costs a ton less to have these people crash virtual airplanes as opposed to real airplanes. So they've got these flight simulators that are everything that my father-in-law's a fighter pilot, and he was not trained in one of these things. He got into one of them and gave a report to the Pentagon on it that like 2 thumbs up. This works really well because it's in some ways you can make it harder. You can make it more difficult. There's more control. Like you can create a scenario and train your pilots on this particular scenario in a way that like if they're just going up for a flight, there's nothing. Good chance they won't face how intense it could be. So in a simulator, turn that intensity up and it works really well. Awesome.
I think VR will become more advanced and people will get into it. I think it won't replace video games. I think video games are in VR more than anything. I mean, people still play. Like Ned still plays his Wii. Like that thing is so outdated. but it's like he still has fun with it. I think there's still like the shop in Cincinnati with all the arcade games. Like people still go to that. I don't think it'll ever replace it. Okay, Jack.
There's this group making like a rival GTA. Not like they're good or bad.
Bible GTA.
GTA still stands the same.
I mean, I don't know. I think it has to be done well. I don't think. I mean, I guess their ultimate goal is just to reach more people, right? And I guess kids now are like video games. Everyone likes video games.
I think that's all you're talking about. They're playing in church in the GTA. That's what it was.
And that's one of those things where it's like, all right, Christians, here's a good opportunity. Video games are a part of culture we should care about. So what's the right move? I don't know that like church planting in an open world where you can go get.
I mean, if it's the same, like, if they're still using like the same engine as GTA, then
Yeah,
it's gonna be skewed like in their brains already. Because it's just like, oh, this is the same game that, yeah, just yeah. Okay, Owen, you have a question.
Do you think that video games get enough credit for the social aspect of it? Because I feel like we're always talking about like the part of it, but we never talk about like the social.
I don't think it does because I mean that's how we became friends is playing Valorant. So
All my best friends are from first like meeting them and playing video games. Like Ben back there, Reece.
it's just something you can do with your friends that I mean that's why I think I'm like the socializer, and that's what I like to do is the multiplayer games more than the single player games. I don't know. I don't think it gets talked about a lot. I never really saw it come up in my research other than the one time.
2 years ago, I don't know if y'all remember David August. He did his senior seminar presentation on video games. On that, so like Reece took the art angle, David took the community angle, he took the group angle, and like played a clip from a stream that he did with some friends of his, and it's like, so I was a little cynical to be honest with you. Like, yeah, but are you ever gonna like he's talking about like a dozen people he's friends with online, and he met them through a video game. Are you ever gonna meet these people? And it's like, yeah, actually, last summer they went to Las Vegas for some big. They all met up. They're real good friends now. While he was there, he had really great conversations about being a Christian. Two of these guys are, several of them are not. And they had this really engaging conversation. And as he was talking, it was around this time of year, he was like, and we've got another meetup planned for this summer. So it's like, it was one of those things I was already down, but like, I didn't realize like how much potential there is now. Fast forward, David just came and hung out with me for a few minutes a couple weeks ago, saying that he's getting an internship at a church nearby to work in their youth ministry. And it's like, it's really cool because the youth pastor there is a D1 athlete who's doing, so a D1 athlete doing youth ministry, you know what those youth group meetings are going to be like, right? There's going to be a lot of dodgeball, a lot of basketball, a lot of games and stuff. Meanwhile, there's this group of kids over in the corner who are interested in none of that. Enter David. And David is engaging with these kids in a way that, like, the other youth pastor has already told him, is like, yeah, he basically got him the internship because this guy can reach those kids in a way that I can. Like, yeah, that's a real life story, man. Like, again, if Christians are interested in community. Right. Last call. Any more comments, questions? Yeah, Reece.